I stared at my phone as it buzzed for the 47th time that morning. Emma's name flashed across the screen, again and again and again. 24 hours earlier, she'd stood in my kitchen and told me, with a smile as cold as winter glass, that she didn't need me anymore, that they didn't need me. Now, her desperation hummed through the device in my hand like a trapped bee, and for the first time in 32 years of motherhood, I didn't feel the automatic pull to answer. My daughter Emma was the kind of child who seemed to glow from the inside out. Even as a toddler, she had this way of tilting her head when she wanted something, and I'd melt. My husband, David, used to joke that she had me wrapped around her tiny finger before she could even walk. He wasn't wrong. David died when Emma was 14. Heart attack. No warning. One Tuesday, he kissed me goodbye before work, and by Wednesday, I was planning his funeral. Emma and I became a team of two overnight, her grief sharp and young, mine heavy and endless. I worked double shifts at the hospital where I'd been a nurse for 18 years. I picked up weekend hours. I skipped lunches and wore shoes until the soles cracked, because every dollar I saved went into Emma's future. She wanted to study marketing at a good university. I wanted her to have that. I wanted her to have everything I couldn't. So I gave it to her. Tuition, books, rent for her apartment near campus, a reliable car so she wouldn't have to take the bus in winter. When she graduated and landed a marketing coordinator position at a mid-sized firm downtown, I helped her with the deposit on a nicer place. When she met Ryan, a clean-cut financial analyst with an easy smile and expensive taste, I welcomed him into our lives. I hosted dinners, I asked about his work, I pretended not to notice the way he'd check his watch when I talked too long. They got engaged 2 years later. The ring cost more than I made in 3 months, but Ryan assured me it was an investment. Emma cried happy tears and showed me the photos she'd already started pinning for the wedding. Venues with chandeliers and gardens, cakes that looked like sculptures, dresses that cost what I used to spend on groceries for a year. I should have seen it then, the way her eyes glazed over when I gently suggested a smaller celebration, the way Ryan's smile tightened when I mentioned budgets. But I didn't, or maybe I didn't want to. I was invited to every planning session, every cake tasting, every venue tour. I smiled and nodded and took notes. I offered to help however I could. And Emma would hug me and say, "Mom, you're the best. I don't know what I'd do without you." I believed her. 3 months before the wedding, Emma sat me down in my living room, the same room where I'd rocked her to sleep as a baby, where we'd watched movies on rainy Saturdays, where David and I had danced on our anniversary while she giggled from the couch. She had a binder, color-coded tabs, a spreadsheet on her tablet. "Mom," she said, her voice bright and businesslike, "Ryan and I have been working on the wedding budget, and we wanted to talk to you about contributions." Contributions. The word sat between us like a stone. She slid the tablet across the coffee table. The numbers were clean, organized, brutal. Venue, $18,000. Catering, $22,000. Photography, $6,500. Flowers, $4,200. The list went on, each line item more expensive than the last. At the bottom, highlighted in yellow, was my name. Next to it, $35,000. I felt the air leave my lungs. "Emma," I said slowly, "sweetheart, that's more than half my annual salary." She nodded, as if I'd just confirmed a dinner reservation. "I know it's a lot, Mom, but Ryan's parents are covering the rehearsal dinner and the honeymoon, and his aunt is paying for the flowers. Everyone's pitching in. It's what families do." "Families help how they can," I said carefully. "I can help, but not—" "Mom," her voice sharpened, just slightly, just enough. You've always said you wanted the best for me. This is my wedding, my one wedding. Don't you want it to be perfect?" Ryan, who'd been silent until now, leaned forward. His smile was practiced, sympathetic. "Mrs. Caroline, we understand it's a big ask, but think of it as an investment in Emma's happiness, in our future together. You wouldn't want her to look back and feel like something was missing, would you?" The guilt landed exactly where he'd aimed it. I told them I'd think about it. I lay awake that night doing math in my head. My savings account, already thin from years of helping Emma, held $41,000. That money was supposed to be my safety net, my retirement cushion, the buffer between me and disaster if I got sick or lost my job. But Emma's face, bright with hope and expectations, floated in my mind. Her voice, "Don't you want it to be perfect?" The next morning, I transferred $30,000. The weeks leading up to the wedding blurred together. I picked up extra shifts. I ate pasta and canned soup. I turned the heat down and wore sweaters indoors. My best friend Susan noticed the weight I'd lost and the shadows under my eyes, but I waved her off. "Just busy with wedding stuff," I said. Emma called less frequently. When she did, it was about seating charts and playlist approvals, and whether the ivory napkins looked too yellow in certain light. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't ask about work, or if I needed anything. I told myself she was just stressed. Weddings do that to people. The Thursday before the wedding, I drove to Emma's apartment to drop off the dress I'd had altered. A simple lavender sheath she'd picked out for me. "Mother of the bride appropriate," she'd said, which felt both loving and somehow clinical. I knocked. Ryan answered, phone pressed to his ear. He waved me in absently and returned to his call. I could hear Emma in the kitchen, her voice animated. "No, tell them we need the upgraded package. We're not doing the basic centerpieces, that's tacky. Yes, I know it's more money, but..." I set the dress on the couch and wandered toward the kitchen. Emma was pacing, phone in one hand, a glass of wine in the other. She didn't see me at first. "Well, that's what Mom's money is for," she said into the phone, laughing. "She gave us carte blanche, basically. Might as well use it." My feet stopped moving. "I know, right? Ryan's mom made such a fuss about the honeymoon budget, but my mom just handed it over. No drama." She took a sip of wine. "Honestly, it's the least she could do after Dad. I mean, that life insurance should have been way more, but whatever. She's making up for it now." The world tilted. I must have made a sound because Emma turned. Her eyes went wide for just a second. Surprise, then something else. Calculation. "Mom," she said, lowering the phone, "I didn't hear you come in." Clearly. The word came out colder than I'd intended. Emma's expression shifted, smoothing into something pleasant and dismissive. "I was just talking to Becca about the wedding. You know how it is. Vendor stress." "Is that what you call it?" My voice sounded strange to my own ears, distant. Vendor stress? Ryan appeared in the doorway. He read the room immediately. "Mrs. Caroline, can I get you some water or..." "Your dress is on the couch," I said to Emma. "I'll see you Saturday." I turned to leave. Emma's voice followed me, sharp-edged now, the pleasant mask slipping. "Mom, don't be dramatic. It was just a phone call." I stopped at the door but didn't turn around. "I gave you $30,000, Emma. I gave you everything I had. And we're grateful, truly. The wedding wouldn't be possible without you." "No," I said quietly. "It wouldn't." I drove home in silence. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I felt hollowed out, scraped clean. That night, I pulled out the wedding binder Emma had left at my house, her backup copy. I read through it slowly. Every vendor contract, every payment plan. My name was attached to checks I hadn't written yet, balances I hadn't agreed to. Emma had listed me as financially responsible for another $8,000 in upcoming expenses. She'd spent my money and then spent it again in her head, planning for more. I called Susan. She came over with tea and sat with me at my kitchen table while I explained everything. She listened, her face growing tighter with each detail.
"What are you going to do?" she finally asked. "I don't know," I said, "but I can't do this anymore." Friday morning, Emma called. Her voice was bright, artificially cheerful. "Mom, good news! The florist said they can do the rose arch for the ceremony after all. It's only another $1,200 and it'll look amazing in photos. Can you call them and give them your card number? They need it by noon." I closed my eyes. No. Silence. "What?" Emma's laugh was nervous. "Mom, I'm serious. They need it." I said, "No, Emma. I'm not giving you any more money." "You're joking." Her voice hardened. "Mom, this is my wedding tomorrow. You can't just—" "I can. I am." This is unbelievable. She wasn't trying to hide her anger anymore. "After everything we've done to include you, to make you part of this, you're going to sabotage it over $1,200? "I heard you, Emma." My voice stayed level. "Yesterday, on the phone. I heard what you really think." A beat of silence. "You were eavesdropping?" "I was dropping off your dress." "Well, you took it out of context. I was venting. Wedding stress. You know how it is." "Do I?" "Oh my God, Mom, you're being so sensitive. This is my day. Can't you just support me without making it about you?" Something inside me, something that had been bending for years, finally snapped. "I'm not coming to the wedding." Emma's gasp was sharp. "You're what? You can't be serious." "I'm very serious." "Mom." Ryan's voice now, smooth and condescending. He must have grabbed the phone. "Let's all take a breath here. Emotions are high. Emma didn't mean—" "Yes, she did, and you both know it. I'm not coming. I'm not paying for anything else. I'm done." I hung up. 20 minutes later, Emma showed up at my door. No knock. She had a key. She stormed in, face flushed, eyes bright with fury. "How dare you? How dare you do this to me the day before my wedding?" "Emma." "No." She was shaking. "You don't get to talk. You don't get to ruin this. I have 200 guests coming tomorrow. I have a dress and a venue and a photographer, and you're going to sit there and tell me you're not coming because your feelings got hurt?" "My feelings?" "Yes, your feelings. Everything is always about your feelings, your sacrifices, your hard work. Do you know how exhausting it is, being your project, your reason to exist?" The words hit like slaps. "I never asked to sacrifice," I said quietly. "I did it because I loved you." Emma laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You did it because you had nothing else. Dad died and you made me your whole world, and I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask to be your purpose." Ryan appeared behind her, hand on her shoulder. "Emma, let's go. She's not worth it." She looked at me one more time. Her eyes were cold, stranger's eyes. "We don't need you," she said. "We never did. You just needed us to need you." They left. The door clicked shut. The silence that followed was absolute. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my kitchen and watched the sky lighten from black to gray to pale blue. Somewhere across town, Emma was getting married. Without me. My phone stayed silent. Susan called around noon. "Are you okay?" "No," I said, "but I will be." "Do you want me to come over?" "Not yet. I need to sit with this." I spent the day in a strange fog. I cleaned my house, I did laundry, I made soup I didn't eat. At what I guessed was the ceremony time, I sat on my couch and looked at the framed photos on my bookshelf. Emma as a baby, Emma's first day of school, Emma and David, his arm around her shoulders, both of them laughing. When did I lose her? Or had I ever really had her at all?
Sunday morning, my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. "Hello? Mrs. Caroline? This is Amanda from Bellevue Catering. I'm calling about the outstanding balance for the Whitmore Chen wedding." My stomach dropped. "I'm sorry, what balance?" "The final payment, $4,200. It was due before service yesterday, but Emma said you'd be calling today to settle it. We don't usually allow balances to carry, but she assured us—" "I'm not paying that," I said. Silence. "Mrs. Caroline, your name is on the contract as the financial guarantor." "I never signed a contract with your company." "Well, according to our records—" Papers shuffled. Emma submitted a signed authorization form with your signature. My hands went cold. What? Would you like me to email you a copy? Yes, please. The email arrived 3 minutes later. I opened the attachment with shaking fingers. There was my signature, on a document I'd never seen, on a contract I'd never agreed to. She'd forged it. I called Susan. Then I called my bank. Then I called a lawyer friend who owed me a favor from years ago when I'd covered her mother's care during a difficult hospital stay. Caroline, Janet said carefully, this is fraud. Your daughter committed fraud. I know. Do you want to press charges? I know. Do you want to? I sat with the question, did I want to? Did I want to drag my daughter through legal proceedings? Did I want to make this uglier than it already was? I want her to stop, I said finally. I want her to know she can't do this. Then we need to send a formal cease and desist. We need to put it in writing that you're not responsible for any debts she's incurred in your name, and we need to check what else she's done. What else she's done? The phrase echoed in my head for days. Janet helped me pull my credit report. 3 cards I'd never opened, 2 in collections, 1 with a balance of $6,700. Emma had stolen my identity, piece by piece, over months, maybe longer. I felt sick. I felt betrayed in a way I hadn't known was possible. This wasn't just entitlement or selfishness. This was criminal. Susan held my hand while I cried. What kind of mother raises someone who does this? I asked. A mother who loved too much, Susan said, who gave everything. You didn't do this, Caroline. She did. The calls from vendors continued. The florist, the DJ, a rental company for chairs and linens. Each one had the same story. Outstanding balance, my name on file, Emma's promise that I'd pay. Each time I explained I wasn't responsible. Each time I gave them Janet's contact information. Each time I felt another piece of the daughter I thought I knew crumble away. 2 weeks after the wedding, I received a package. No return address. Inside was a wedding photo, professional shot. Emma in white, Ryan in a dark suit, both of them glowing with champagne happiness. On the back, in Emma's handwriting, best day ever. Thanks for nothing. I put it in a drawer and didn't look at it again. A month after the wedding, Emma's calls started. Not to apologize, not to explain, to ask for money. Mom, hey, it's me. Listen, we're having some cash flow issues with the honeymoon expenses. Can you spot us $3,000? We'll pay you back next month. I hung up. She called again an hour later. Mom, don't be childish. I said we'd pay you back. I blocked her number. She called from Ryan's phone, from her work phone, from numbers I didn't recognize. Each voicemail was a variation on the same theme. I was being unreasonable. I was holding a grudge. I was punishing her for one bad day. You're my mother, she said in one message, her voice breaking. You're supposed to love me unconditionally. I did love her. That was the problem. I loved her so much I'd let her take everything, and she'd mistaken my love for weakness. Janet filed the cease and desist. The identity theft paperwork crawled through bureaucracy. I changed my locks. I opened a new bank account. I moved my small savings to an institution Emma didn't know about. I was protecting myself from my own daughter. The realization sat in my chest like a stone. Then, 6 weeks after the wedding, I received a call from a number I did recognize. Emma's workplace. Mrs. Caroline? This is Mitchell Green, HR Director at Aspire Marketing. I'm calling because Emma listed you as her emergency contact, and we need to reach her. She hasn't been in the office for 3 days, and she's not responding to calls or emails. My stomach twisted. Have you tried Ryan?
he's not answering either. Old instincts kicked in. Mother instincts. I'll try to find her. I drove to their apartment. I knocked, no answer. I called from Susan's phone. Emma might not recognize the number. She picked up on the fourth ring. Hello? Her voice was thick, rough. Emma, it's Mom. Silence. Then, how did you... Your work called. They're worried. Are you okay? I'm fine. She wasn't fine. I could hear it. Just taking some personal days. Emma? I said I'm fine, Mom. God, can't you just leave me alone? She hung up. I sat in my car outside her building and called Mitchell back. I spoke with her. She says she's taking personal time. She didn't request it through proper channels, and frankly, Mrs. Caroline, we've had some concerns about discrepancies in her expense reports. If she doesn't come in tomorrow, we'll have to take formal action. After we hung up, I sat there for a long time. I thought about going up to the apartment. I thought about demanding answers. But I didn't. For the first time in Emma's life, I let her face her consequences alone. 2 days later, Susan called me. You need to see this. She'd sent me a link to a social media post, Emma's account, a long, rambling caption beneath a photo of her and Ryan at the wedding. Some of you have asked where my mom is in the wedding photos. Here's the truth. She chose not to come. She decided her pride was more important than supporting me on the most important day of my life. I've tried to reconcile with her, but she won't answer my calls. If you're reading this, Mom, I hope you're happy. You got what you wanted, attention and sympathy, but you lost me. The comments were full of support for Emma. Strangers calling me heartless, selfish, a terrible mother. I stared at the screen, numb. She was rewriting history, publicly, painting herself as the victim, and people believed her. I didn't respond to the post. I didn't defend myself. I didn't engage. Instead, I called Janet. I need you to help me document everything, I said. Every forged signature, every fraudulent charge, every vendor contract with my name on it. I need a paper trail that proves exactly what happened. Are you pressing charges? Janet asked. I'm not sure yet, I said, but I need to be ready. Over the next 2 weeks, Janet and I built a case file. Bank statements, credit reports, vendor contracts, email threads I'd saved, the wedding binder with Emma's handwriting mapping out expenses she'd committed me to without permission. It was damning, thorough, undeniable. I also did something else. I called David's sister, Aunt Marie, Emma's godmother, a woman who'd always loved Emma fiercely, but who didn't tolerate dishonesty. I need to tell you something, and it's going to be hard to hear. I told her everything. She listened in silence. When I finished, she let out a long breath. Oh, Caroline, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I'm not telling you to take sides, I said, but I needed someone in the family to know the truth, in case Emma tries to make this something it's not. She already has, Marie said grimly. She called me last week crying about how you abandoned her. I believed her. I almost called you to tell you how disappointed I was. And now? And now I'm wondering how I raised such a convincing liar. The words stung, even though they weren't about me, because Emma was a liar, and I'd spent 32 years refusing to see it. I also reached out quietly to 2 of the vendors Emma stuck with unpaid balances. I didn't pay them. I couldn't, but I gave them copies of the forged documents and Janet's contact information. I'm not trying to hurt my daughter, I told the caterer, Amanda, but I'm not going to be destroyed by her either. I understand, she said, and for what it's worth, I believe you. I've been doing weddings for 15 years. I know when a bride is entitled, and I know when someone's being taken advantage of. Your daughter, she paused. Your daughter was very good at making promises she had no intention of keeping. 2 of the vendors decided to pursue legal action against Emma, not me. I felt guilty about that, but I also felt relieved. Consequences, finally. I focused on my own recovery. I started seeing a therapist Susan recommended. I talked about grief, not just David's death, but the death of the daughter I thought I had, the death of the relationship I'd believed in. You're mourning, my therapist said, and that's okay. Grief doesn't only come from death, it comes from loss, and you've lost something very real. I threw myself into work. I volunteered for extra shifts again, but this time to rebuild my savings, not to give them away. I started small, a few $100s a month. It felt impossible, but it was mine. I also changed my phone number. I didn't tell Emma. I didn't tell anyone except Susan, Marie, and Janet. For the first time in months, my phone was silent. It felt like peace.
The 50th call came on a Tuesday. My old phone, the one I'd stopped using but hadn't thrown away, started buzzing at 6 in the morning. I'd left it in a drawer, but I could hear it vibrating against the wood. I pulled it out and watched the screen light up over and over. Emma. Emma. Unknown number. Emma. Ryan. Emma. 50 calls by noon. The voicemails were frantic, desperate, so different from the cold anger of 2 months ago. Mom, please, I need you to pick up. Mom, I'm sorry, okay? I'm really sorry. Please call me back. Mom, we're in serious trouble. The vendors are suing us. Ryan's freaking out. We can't afford a lawyer. Please. Mom, answer the phone. I listened to all of them. I didn't delete them, but I didn't call back. At 2 p.m., someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole. Emma. Eyes red and swollen, hair unwashed. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. I didn't open the door. Mom, I know you're in there, she called. Please, I need to talk to you. I stood on the other side of the door, silent. Mom, I messed up. I know I messed up, but I'm your daughter. You can't just abandon me. The irony of those words wasn't lost on me. She knocked again. The wedding vendors are coming after us. We owe money we don't have. Ryan's parents won't help. They're furious about the whole thing. I got fired last week. We're drowning, Mom. I need you. I pressed my forehead against the door, closed my eyes. I know you're mad, Emma continued, her voice breaking. I know I said terrible things, but you're my mother. You're supposed to forgive me. That's what mothers do. Something hot and sharp rose in my chest. I opened the door. Emma's face flooded with relief. Mom, thank God. No, I said. Her smile faltered. What? No, Emma, I'm not fixing this. I'm not paying your debts. I'm not saving you. But I'm your daughter. You were my daughter, I said quietly, and then you used me. You stole from me. You lied about me. You committed fraud in my name, and then you publicly humiliated me to cover your tracks. Mom, I was stressed. You forged my signature on legal documents, Emma. You opened credit cards in my name. You destroyed my credit. And when I tried to set boundaries, you told me I wasn't worth it. She was crying now. I didn't mean any of that. I was just angry. No, I said. You meant it. You've always meant it. You've just never had to face consequences before because I always cleaned up your messes. So what? You're just going to let me fail? Let me lose everything? You already lost everything, I said. You lost it when you decided your wedding was more important than your mother. You lost it when you chose to lie instead of tell the truth. You lost it when you looked at the person who loved you most and saw a bank account instead of a human being. Emma's face crumpled. Please, Mom, I'm begging you. I have nowhere else to go. You made sure of that. You burned every bridge, starting with mine. I'm your daughter, and I'm a person with dignity, with worth,
with a right to be treated like more than a wallet. I started to close the door. Emma's hand shot out, stopping it. "If you do this," she said, voice low and shaking, "I'll never forgive you." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger wearing my daughter's face. "I'll have to live with that," I said.
At 2 p.m., someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole. Emma. Eyes red and swollen, hair unwashed. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. I didn't open the door. "Mom, I know you're in there," she called. "Please, I need to talk to you." I stood on the other side of the door, silent. "Mom, I messed up. I know I messed up. But I'm your daughter. You can't just abandon me." The irony of those words wasn't lost on me. She knocked again. "The wedding vendors are coming after us. We owe money we don't have. Ryan's parents won't help. They're furious about the whole thing. I got fired last week. We're drowning, Mom. I need you." I pressed my forehead against the door, closed my eyes. "I know you're mad," Emma continued, her voice breaking. "I know I said terrible things, but you're my mother. You're supposed to forgive me. That's what mothers do." Something hot and sharp rose in my chest. I opened the door. Emma's face flooded with relief. "Mom, thank God." "No," I said. Her smile faltered. "What?" "No, Emma, I'm not fixing this. I'm not paying your debts. I'm not saving you." "But I'm your daughter." "You were my daughter," I said quietly, "and then you used me. You stole from me. You lied about me. You committed fraud in my name, and then you publicly humiliated me to cover your tracks." "Mom, I was stressed." "You forged my signature on legal documents, Emma. You opened credit cards in my name. You destroyed my credit. And when I tried to set boundaries, you told me I wasn't worth it." She was crying now. "I didn't mean any of that. I was just angry." "No," I said. "You meant it. You've always meant it. You've just never had to face consequences before because I always cleaned up your messes." "So what? You're just going to let me fail? Let me lose everything?" "You already lost everything," I said. "You lost it when you decided your wedding was more important than your mother. You lost it when you chose to lie instead of tell the truth. You lost it when you looked at the person who loved you most and saw a bank account instead of a human being." Emma's face crumpled. "Please, Mom, I'm begging you. I have nowhere else to go." "You made sure of that. You burned every bridge, starting with mine." "I'm your daughter." "And I'm a person, with dignity, with worth, with a right to be treated like more than a wallet." I started to close the door. Emma's hand shot out, stopping it. "If you do this," she said, voice low and shaking, "I'll never forgive you." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger wearing my daughter's face. "I'll have to live with that," I said. I still see Emma's wedding photos sometimes, when I'm cleaning out old drawers or organizing paperwork. That professional shot, her smile, her perfect day. I wonder if it was worth it. I wonder if she ever thinks about what she destroyed to have those few hours of celebration. But mostly, I've stopped wondering. Mostly, I've started living again. Susan and I took a weekend trip to the coast last month. Nothing fancy. A small bed and breakfast, long walks on the beach, coffee in the morning, and wine at sunset. It was the first vacation I'd taken in 8 years. "You seem lighter," Susan said one evening as we watched the waves. "I feel lighter," I admitted. "Like I've been carrying something heavy for so long I forgot what it felt like to put it down." "Do you miss her?" Susan asked gently. "I miss who I thought she was," I said. "But that person might never have existed, and I'm learning to be okay with that." There's a part of me that hopes Emma grows up, that she learns from this, that someday she understands what she lost and why. There's a part of me that hopes she reaches out with a real apology, not because she needs something, but because she's sorry, truly sorry. But I'm not holding my breath, and I'm not waiting for that moment to move forward with my life. I've started setting boundaries in other relationships too. At work, with friends, with family. I've learned to say no. I've learned that love doesn't mean martyrdom. I've learned that being a mother doesn't mean letting yourself be destroyed. On Emma's birthday last week, I thought about calling, about reaching out, about offering an olive branch, but I didn't. Instead, I wrote her a letter, not to send, just for me, to process, to release. In it, I told her everything I'd held back that day at my door. I told her I loved her, that I'd always love her, but that love doesn't mean accepting abuse. Love doesn't mean enabling destruction. Love, real love, sometimes means walking away. I sealed the letter and put it in a box with other mementos from her childhood, photos, report cards, Mother's Day cards with crayoned hearts, evidence of a girl who used to exist. Maybe she still exists somewhere. Maybe she'll find her way back to herself. But that's her journey now, not mine. I spent 32 years building my life around Emma. Now I'm building it around me, and that feels like exactly what I needed to do. If there's a lesson in all this, it's simple. You can't love someone into being who you need them to be. You can't sacrifice yourself into creating a relationship that only exists in your hopes. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do, for yourself and for them, is to stop trying. Sometimes the most loving word you'll ever speak is no. If you've lived through your own emotional story of family conflict, boundaries, or letting go, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. These real-life stories remind us we're not alone in the hard choices we have to make. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more calm, honest reflections on the complicated relationships we navigate every day.